teachers are the greatest factor to student success. We also conduct our own research, and JPEF ourselves for more than a decade, our research has shown that teacher compensation is one of the biggest factors in retaining and recruiting highly effective teachers. Based on this research, it has been our position that increasing teacher compensation is one of the most important factors to achieving better outcomes for students, because we are providing a stable and critical environment for our students in the classroom. In addition, several years of perception poll results indicated that Duval County voters would support a tax increase to support our teachers, including increased teacher compensation. So if you'd like to see more of our research on this topic, which we have, again, decades of research relating to this issue, I invite you to visit JPEF's Advocacy Center on our website, www.jaxpef.org. And now let's get to the forum and what you've all tuned in for tonight. We'll again first hear from Dr. Greene, who will share more information on the needs in Duval County. And my co-moderator, Melissa Ross, will actually follow right up with a Q&A section with Dr. Greene, and also allow you to also ask questions as well. If you have any questions for Dr. Greene or anyone else throughout the evening, please drop it into the chat feature, and our team will elevate as many questions as possible during the time we have. And Dr. Greene does have to leave a little early tonight. So if you have a question for her, make sure you put it in the chat and ask it early. If there are any questions we're not able to get to tonight, follow our Advocacy Center page, where we will include an FAQ section, which may list information on all the questions, or as many questions as we can that we can't get to tonight. So with that, I want to welcome Dr. Diana Greene, Superintendent of Schools for Duval County Public Schools. And she needs no introduction, and all of the wonderful accolades, again, that Dr. Greene has accomplished. And one of them being, I will not stop saying, our former superintendent, Florida Superintendent of the Year, which should be mentioned at every introduction, in my opinion, Dr. Greene. So I will let you take it away. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Coretta. And I'm going to jump right in. I want to repeat something that Coretta said in her introduction that really is at the center of everything we're going to talk about tonight. And it's, again, after effective parenting, the #1 determinant of a student's success, and though this quote says student success, it truly should be for a student's academic success, is having an outstanding teacher. This research was done by Horizon 2040 project from the Florida Council of 100 back in August of 2019. We see the impact of outstanding teachers. In the state of Florida, all of our teachers that are part of our evaluation system receives a rating, whether it is highly effective, not satisfactory, developmental, or unsatisfactory. When we see outstanding, for us, it means that this teacher is highly effective. Highly effective teachers know how to make those adjustments. They know how to pivot when a student needs something different. They know how to interact with not only the student, that student's family, on how to help that student be the very best version of themselves as it relates to academics. And because they are so important, this is our problem, our instructional vacancies. As you can see by the chart, it shows that in February of this past school year, 2022, we had over 400 vacancies. This has a tremendous impact in the classroom. The information that you see off to the side, it says that over the last 6 years, that has increased over 155%. So this was not, if you will, a COVID issue or a pandemic issue. This issue started several years ago, but the pandemic has exacerbated this problem. And as you can see, we've had an increase of 98% since the start of the pandemic. In addition to the number of vacancies, when we look at our teacher salaries in the state of Florida, which, by the way, the state of Florida is ranked 48th out of 50 states in teacher salaries. And so for Duval, not only are we in a state that's ranked 48 out of 50, Duval is ranked 40th out of 69 LEAs or school districts with an average teacher salary of $47,500. When we look at comparison to the Big Seven, we are known as one of the Big Seven because we are the 6th largest school district in the state of Florida. You can see we are ranked last out of the Big Seven. Those that have the teal bar on top of the royal blue bar use millage support supplements to increase their teacher salary. So as you can see, Miami-Dade, Palm Beach, Broward, Pinellas are using a 1 mil to supplement their teacher compensation. Orange County has a 1 mil, but they are using it for a different purpose. Hillsborough and Duval are the only two that do not have a 1 mil, but Hillsborough will be going out for a 1 mil referendum in November. So as you can see, we are not ranked at a place where we can be competitive with other large school districts such as Duval. And the ranking does not improve when we look at districts surrounding Duval. They are about the same average teacher salary as Duval. However, Duval is a much larger school district, a much more diverse school district, and has challenges that our smaller school districts do not encounter. So when we look at experience, we talk a lot about how experience matters. When we look at the data for our teachers that are highly effective, that means they are having a significant impact on student achievement. You will see that Duval, again, is ranked 58th in the average years of experience. But our data tells us the more years of experience teachers have, the higher percentage of them are highly effective. Therefore, they are impacting students at a much higher rate than teachers that don't have as much experience. Even though they may be ranked effective, what we want is to get our teachers to that place that they have the experience to be able to pivot and support our students at every grade level and every content area. But you can see our districts that surround us, all of them have a higher teacher, average teacher experience than Duval. And again, amongst the Big Seven, we are ranked last again with years of experience. It is not enough that we have to compete with surrounding school districts. The pandemic has opened up to the corporate world the fantastic employees teachers make. We are now seeing that we have to compete with the corporate world who are coming after our teachers. They are hiring our teachers away because 1, they can offer higher salaries. 2, flexibility. Many industries are now moving to hybrid models where they can work some of their days at home and some days in the office. Other industries are still doing a complete work from home, but teachers are making really attractive candidates to a lot of different industries. You may have seen this commercial lately. It's a commercial about a teacher who is also a basketball coach, and he's on a losing streak. He's lost game after game, and he gets a text message from Indeed. So you can find that better fit fast. And Indeed sends him a text message, and he engages in a virtual interview. And the person asks, talk about the time that things didn't quite work out. And he says, oh, if we had all day, I could talk to you about how things have not worked out and how I adjust. We are finding it more difficult to compete with the corporate world because they see our employees, specifically our teachers, as attractive employees for their corporation. But not only are we experiencing a deep impact in teacher vacancies, we're also seeing a deep impact into paraprofessionals. Paraprofessionals are the individuals who help support that classroom teacher. Many paraprofessionals work in our exceptional student classes, where these are some of our most vulnerable students who need that support. And we, again, even though our board had the foresight and the vision to move the beginning salary for paraprofessionals to $15 an hour, here are 4 positions in our communities. These are our local positions that are paying higher than a DCPS para. They do not require the level of education that our DCPS paras are required to have, and yet they are now making more than our DCPS paras. So even though our main focus is about teachers, that support around teachers, such as paraprofessionals, the school principal and assistant principal, these are individuals that support that classroom and that help that teacher to continue to be highly effective in supporting our students. We can't miss also that our students are really the center of everything we do. Making sure we can hire and retain highly effective teachers, ensuring that we can hire and retain paraprofessionals. We also have to look at what is keeping our students in that whole student engagement. And so when we look at the arts and athletics, these are 2 categories that we do not receive specific funding for. Many of the things that we are required to utilize funding for comes in categorical. So transportation is a categorical, reading instruction, it's a categorical. So that tells us that that money can only be spent on those areas. There is nothing for the arts or athletics. It comes from our discretionary funding, and over the years, we are not been able to replace things such as band uniforms, instruments, replace playgrounds. We have over 63 playgrounds that are over 20 to 30 years in age, and it's not been updated. We have schools that have very strong PTAs, and they may be able to raise $50,000 to replace the playground. But we also have many schools that don't have that ability, and this funding will allow us to support all schools through the arts and athletics. So let's talk about the millage referendum. Is this something new? Is Duval County the first school district to take before their community a referendum on a 1 mill? No, we're not. We're not the first, but we do want to be the 21st county to bring it before our community. There are already 20 counties in the state of Florida that has a 1 mill that is either used for compensation for teachers and support staff, or they're using their 1 mill for support such as safety and security, paying for school resource officers, but 20 counties at this time. It is under my association, I believe we have found out there are going to be 4 other school districts in addition to Duval that will also go out either this year or in the next couple of years for a millage referendum to support their operations. What does the funding look like? So with a 1 mill increase, it will be an estimate of close to $82 million generated per year. As you can see, the vast majority of those dollars are going to be focused on teachers and staff. There is 12.5% that is focused on charter share. We are required by law to share any millage with a 1 mill increase, excuse me, not millage, with a 1 mill increase with our charter schools, and it is based on enrollment. At the time this chart was developed, that enrollment was at 12.5. So next year, if that enrollment increases or decreases, we must adjust that support to charter schools. And as you can see, also 12.5% going to arts and athletics. It is also important to note that if we are successful with a 1 mill referendum, its time span is 4 years. So we would have to go back to our community every 4 years for this 1 mil increase. What does 1 mil mean for the school district? This chart here is very easy to understand what's been happening to the school district over the last 12 years. As you can see, in 2010, our tax rate was at 5.3 mils. Over the years, the state has been steadily what they call a rollback. They've rolled back the millage we are allowed to levy. The school district is not in control of their millage rate. It is done at the state level. So as you can see, from 2010 all the way to 2022, we've gone down almost 2 mils. Today, we are at 3.5. In another month, the state will tell us, are they going to roll that 3.5 back even further? So when we look at the dollars that we have not received since 2010, you can see on the chart, it states costing the district over $657 million from over those 12 years. So that is the concern that we have as a school district. But even if we are successful passing that 1 mil, which would then move us up to 4.5, we are still less than where we were in 2010 at 5.3 mils. I get asked a lot, so what does a mil mean for me as a homeowner? Well, 1 mil equates to $1 per $1,000 of the assessed value less homestead exemption. So if you are an owner of a house that is assessed at $300,000, then you take out homestead exemption, then based on that number, a homeowner would pay about $23 a month. That would be their increase to their taxes. When we ask people to look at a 1 mil, many times they believe that the school district could just add it without going to the community. That I have to constantly correct that we have to go to the community. The community has to make that decision whether they will vote yes for a 1 mil or vote no for a 1 mil. We made it very clear in our resolution, as well as the verbiage that will be on the ballot, what we will use those dollars for. Again, it will be compensation for teacher and staff salaries, arts, music, which includes art, music, and athletics, and the charter schools will receive their proportionate fair share. So what am I asking you to take away? I'm asking you to take away information and share that information with your neighbors, your friends, your circle of influence. But I'm pretty sure 30 minutes from now, you will have forgotten everything that I've kind of talked about. So I want to give you 2 websites, duvalschools.org/vote. That is where you can find the frequently asked questions, so you can be armed with information. We do have a PAC that is supporting this effort, and that website is duvalcbs.com, where you can go and again find information or see how you can support that PAC. But as superintendent, it is very important to note, I am only allowed to share information and share the facts. I can only tell you why we are putting this referendum on the ballot and what drove us to this decision. It now is up to you to make the decision how you personally will support or not support this effort. But it's very important to note that everything that we have done, whether it's the school board or the district, we have supported it with data and information that led us to this decision that teacher compensation needed to be improved. So before Melissa starts asking me questions, I want Melissa do this thing where I'm going to ask a rhetorical question and answer it for them. So one of the rhetorical questions that I'd like to ask, but the governor just said he was giving out more money for increases in teacher salary. And that is absolutely correct. The governor has made a commitment to improving the beginning teacher salary. And our beginning teacher salary now is at $47,500. Where 3 years ago, it was at $39,500. So we have made great gains with beginning teacher salary. Where the concern comes and the issue comes is that the new teacher who's 17 days out of college, now making $47,500, they are making pretty much the same as a 13-year veteran who's been in our schools for 13 years. They are pretty much making the same salary. So something called compression is what is being thought of as inequitable way of paying our teachers, that teachers just entering are making the same as teachers who have devoted years of their commitment to Duval County Public Schools. Teachers that are at year 20, they are only making a couple of $1,000s less than a brand new teacher. And this is one way that we feel that we can attack this issue of compression and supporting our veteran teachers. I'll turn it over to you now, Melissa.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Greene, for that really informative presentation. I think that really laid out in such a clear way the problem and the solution. Now, it has been just a couple of months since the district so successfully made the case for the half-cent sales tax referendum for school improvements and infrastructure. Let me ask you to begin with, in a time when we're dealing with, $5 a gallon gas, more expensive rents and grocery prices and such, what's your message to the voters out there who have demonstrated in the past that they are very supportive of funding Duval County Public Schools, but they might be feeling some economic pressure right now as you ask them to go back again and vote in this new initiative? What's your message to those folks?
My message is you are absolutely correct. We are all feeling that pinch of higher prices, whether it's gas, food, but our teachers are also feeling those same pressures with the current salaries that they are currently receiving. And the issue is about vacancies. We need high quality teachers in our classrooms to support our students. This is not about, teachers making more money so that they can just have more money. It's about that we can attract teachers, retain our teachers, and ensure that we are graduating students who can be productive citizens for this community. We see what the pandemic has done to academic learning loss. And the only way we're going to be able to overcome that learning loss is ensure that we have a highly effective teacher standing in front of those students and supporting them and their families.
I would think too, with everything teachers have been through, the pandemic, fears of school shootings, all of the dissension over curriculum in schools, how to deal with sexual minority kids in schools. Teachers have been through, if I may say, hell. And, I wonder if you could speak a little bit to that, what your teaching staff and the paraprofessionals have been dealing with, and why you're advocating for them to be paid more commensurate with the incredibly, stressful job that they do.
Just today, we shared with our board additional supports that we have in place for our teachers. And when I think about the last 2 years, it was teachers who had to overcome their fears of this pandemic and come back into brick and mortar and support students and teach students. It was teachers who had some students who were learning from home, other students being in brick and mortar. Part of their day was on virtual, just like we're doing here. Another part of their day, they were back in brick and mortar. They still had to contend with COVID-19. They still had to provide supports for students who were home, whether it was because of COVID. Our teachers have met the challenge on every corner of this pandemic. When corporations are still allowing their employees to work from home, we do not have that as an option. Our teachers have to show up. And I would say that close to 100% of them made that determination that my students need me and I'm going to show up and be here for families. But our teachers still have to deal with mental health for what's going on with our students. They have their own children, they have their own families, they have their own struggles that they have been dealing with. Our teachers have really been very similar to what the saviors, our nurses are going through, what law enforcement was going through, firefighters were going through. These are individuals who were on the front lines, and teachers are at a point where they're not going into this profession for, I don't think it's the reasons of the pandemic. I think it's everything else you talked about this, their own personal safety, all the different subject areas that are now under review and attack about what we teach in schools. They have a lot that they are putting on their shoulders to come into our classrooms. And this is about our community. Mm-hmm. Community, schools are a microcosm of our community. And our community has to make a decision whether they're going to support the very people who they see in the grocery store paying those same prices, or that they may see in other locations of our community, but they show up. And this is just very important to me as a former teacher, that someone is stating that what I do is important. And it's important enough that we're going to add a 1 mil to our taxes to support our educators and the other paraprofessionals, the other individuals who are at our schools there each and every day to support students and their families. It is a very challenging job.
It certainly is. And can you explain to folks, the date on the calendar is August 23rd. What will be on the ballot? This will be part of a larger ballot, correct? And how can people get a sense of how they'll be voting on this matter?
This will be on the August 23rd primary. There will be other, it'll be other items on that ballot, but I encourage them to go to the website that I can put it back up to get information. They can actually see the ballot language that they'll see on the ballot on August 23rd.
Okay, and then how do you see this too as an economic development issue? Certainly some public officials, I can think of 1 or 2 on the city council, who've said, oh, what we can't afford this. We don't look at all of the taxes already. But as you pointed out, this city is under-resourced and has been for some time. So if you could talk a little bit about how this measure contributes to economic development for Jacksonville.
Well, this issue contributes to the economic development for Jacksonville because teachers are more likely to spend their dollars in Duval County. They also own homes, and for the teachers that own homes, they are investing in themselves because they will also be paying this 1 mil tax, as well as, again, their disposable income more than likely is going to be spent in Duval County. Just like the half-cent sales tax, we get the luxury of people visiting our community. When they buy in our community, it supports our community. Here, it is the people who live in our community are supporting a group of individuals who are here to educate our children, but these individuals more than likely are also going to spend their dollars in Duval County supporting the JAGs, supporting the Iceman, supporting all the other recreational sporting events that are here. Is coming from these individuals.
Yeah, and do you feel too that if the teachers and staff feel valued, that will contribute to the upward momentum in terms of test scores, graduation rates, and all of the positive progress the school system has made in recent years? One data point I saw in your presentation about veteran teachers, it looked as though St. Johns County to the south had the most veteran teachers. And of course, St. Johns County, as we know, does a very good job of marketing its test scores, its school rankings, and so on. So would you say that the veteran teacher ranks in St. John's are contributing to their success? And would you like to emulate that here in Duval with making sure that you have those highly skilled veteran teachers?
Absolutely. Our data shows that the schools that are ranked school gradings of A and B, that they have more veteran teachers at their schools versus, and we're very fortunate, we have no F schools, but schools that have a school rating of D have less years of experience. The average teacher experience at a school rated an A is over 15 years. The average years of experience at a school rated a D is less than 10 years. So you can clearly see it in our own data that the teachers that have more experience tend to be more effective and can improve student achievement. When we improve student achievement, it eventually matriculates into higher graduation rates. Higher graduation rates tend to matriculate into more students being engaged in 3 pathways, whether that's post-secondary, into the world of work, or the military, which in turn lifts our economic development for this community.
Alrighty, and now here is a question in the chat from Alfreda. Dr. Greene, will the 12.5% in arts athletic support increase in supplements for those programs? Also, have you considered supplements for ESC teachers with the 75%?
Anything that is dealing with compensation, we still have to negotiate that with the appropriate union. So that would have to be negotiated about anything to do with supplements. The funding for arts and athletics is really focused on resources for those programs. If I'm really understanding the question, it is not about supplements for the teachers of those programs. It's about ensuring the resources for students and teachers to use in those programs.
Joy has a question in the chat. She says, Governor DeSantis brags about the teacher raises he has provided and it says it's a very healthy budget. What % of the state budget is allocated to support teacher salaries?
For Duval County Public Schools, for the past, I want to say 2 years, we've received about $22 million. Every school district had to get their beginning teacher salary to $47,500. So we are now at $47,500. So we will this year, for the first time, be able to utilize some money for the other teachers. However, it does not fix compression. So if whatever we do for the other teachers, we have the requirement to do for the new teachers. So even if we could give a $1,500 supplement, that's going to go to everyone. That still does not change the 13-year teacher who's making the exact same thing as the teacher who's 13 days out of college and into the classroom. So I'm not discounting anything that the governor has done to raise our beginning teacher salaries. The issue is that to do that, it required districts to do compression, to push the salaries closer together.
Rhoda has a question. She says, in a previous presentation, Dr. Greene mentioned that schools of education are not attracting students, lessening the potential for future teachers. What can be done about that? Certainly higher salaries would help, she says.
That is correct. The colleges of education are not bringing in the numbers that we didn't used to have to go out and spend dollars to recruit teachers. It used to be we could be very selective and we would be the ones determining. Now, the Florida Great Teach-In, which is for the entire state of Florida, only had 200 applicants. That's kind of unheard of. Only 200 applicants for an entire state teacher job fair. The University of North Florida currently has less than 250 students in their entire college of education. So that's from freshman to senior. The colleges of education are not producing the number of teachers that they used to in the past.
Yeah, that's a problem for sure.
Yeah.
Coretta.
Yes. Hi, Melissa, Dr. Greene. Wow, we could spend the entire hour and a half talking with you. This is so informative. I'm not sure if you can see the chat, Dr. Greene, but so many comments about how it really not only informative, but helpful your presentation has been. There are many questions as we shared. I know that we can't get to all of them tonight, but please continue to follow us on our advocacy center. Again, at www.jaxpef.org, JAXPEF.org, and continue to look there for an additional kind of comprehensive Q&A or FAQ, if you will, from some of the questions that we may not have gotten to tonight. But thank you so much, Dr. Greene. We really appreciate you being here this evening, providing a helpful overview with the facts to really help voters make informed decisions in August.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I know you have to drop off. So now it's time to bring on our panel. Melissa, are you ready?
Let's hear from the panel.
Yes, let's hear from the panel. Dr. Greene talked quite often and in her presentation about the impact this obviously will have on our educators. And so we're excited to bring you a panel of educators to hear from them directly. And please give a wave. You can go ahead and come off your cameras as you're joining us here. I want to first introduce Justin Fluent. He is a principal at First Coast High School. We also have with us tonight Dr. Charles McWhite. I know Mr. McWhite, he had some, I think there was a storm tonight, so I'm not sure if he was able to hop back on, but Mr. McWhite is Dr. McWhite rather is a principal.
Doctor, just Charles.
Okay, sorry, Charles. There you go. Okay, there you are. Principal at Tiger Academy. So good to have you here. And your internet seems to be working right now, so we'll keep it moving. Also, we have Miss Michelle Mogger, the first grade teacher at Twin Lakes Elementary School. Good to see you, Michelle. Jamia Jackson Gaines, second grade teacher at R.L. Brown Elementary. And then finally, Marcus McKnight, a middle school teacher at Ribault Middle School and a 5,000 role model site leader. Thank you all so much for being here this evening. Melissa, would you like to start us off with some discussion?
Sure. I guess let's start with Justin. Can you give us your perspective as a principal as to how this referendum would be helpful in the success of your school, should it pass?
Sure. Thank you for having me tonight. So this referendum would be huge for all schools, but specifically for my school. This year alone, I had several veteran teachers leave the profession due to having to make that tough decision about staying in the profession that they love or being able to provide for the families. And those are conversations that aren't fun to have with your staff, but when they make those decisions, can you blame them, right? So we had several vacancies come about this year because educators had to make that tough choice. The impact that they had on the overall function of the school, it was definitely felt. So imagine being a student. One day your teacher is there, a veteran teacher. You're doing really well in the class, and then the next day it's a substitute. And the next day, maybe that substitute didn't show up and it's a different face. So the impact that that has on our students and their academic success is huge. In addition to that, these are, again, veteran teachers. And so we talk a lot about, novice teachers coming in and the support that they need to be successful. Those veteran teachers play a large role in that support. And so now you're missing that component to continue to grow teachers in schools. So that impact has definitely been felt this year by not only my staff, but my students as well.
Yeah.
And having that referendum and being able to retain those veteran teachers would be phenomenal. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Jamia, can you talk a little bit about yourself and your perspective on this? Oh, her mic is off. There you go. Hey, Jamia.
Hi. Yeah, so, this referendum has the power to impact teachers in a huge way. When we think about an increase in compensation, we're talking about life-changing moves for current educators and also future educators that want to come into the profession. Financially, this can bridge a financial gap for educators. It's no secret that teachers are spending their own funds into their classrooms. Teachers are having to supplement their income with aftercare or summer jobs, sometimes second and third jobs after spending an entire day of teaching, which gives them less time to spend with their family, only to try to make ends meet for their families. As a first-time mom, I have an infant at home. If I'm working all day and then I come home, from working aftercare or whatever other job I have to work, getting home between 6:30 and 6:45, I have 30 minutes to spend with my own child. And we know that we put our all into our classrooms and our students to be able to give them the best possible situation or education possible. Teachers shouldn't have to spread themselves that thin to make ends meet. And I know we are competing with these other jobs that are pulling teachers out of classrooms. And I really feel like this would also help with teacher retention. Iron sharpens iron. Having veteran teachers is very crucial. Not just as a highly effective educator myself, but as someone who wants to mentor teachers coming in. We want this to represent a positive change, not just for our teachers, but also so that we can provide high quality education for our students and continue to be a support system for our families as well. As a teacher leader in my school, I've noticed that educators perform well when they're comfortable and when they feel supported, not just financially, socially, emotionally, and professionally as well. So, to fellow educators, I see you and I hear you guys, and to the members of our community, I hope you see and hear us as well.
Thank you. Michelle, tell us about your school and how you see this referendum.
I feel like the referendum is extremely important for success of our students, because if our teachers are happy, not just financially, but supportive in every direction, I think that the community would be willing to help with the referendum. As a teacher myself, I'm also a director for our extended day program. We house this last year 320 students. So we know that people are working, and we understand that, giving a little more of them is going to help increase the positivity in our classrooms and for our veteran teachers. Myself, I'm a 19-year teacher, been doing a long time, but I still have to work another job, extended day, which I do enjoy and love, but I am working sometimes 10 hours a day. So it is exhausting. And it is frustrating. If I was not married, I would not be able to support myself, and I would not be able to support my children at the salary that I'm currently at. With the new teachers coming in, I'm also a mentor teacher. I take my interns and I, turn them around, and I make sure that our new staff coming in is well prepared. But it does get frustrating because it's exhausting, and we're still getting the same amount of pay that those teachers are affording. What I see our community doing in the long run is seeing the difference in our teachers and our veteran teachers staying, where they're going to make a difference in our community and our students. So we are all, equal in the fact that we are happy with our education system, and everybody is working together to create, honestly, years and years of society. So I feel like when we do, hopefully, I pray, get the $1 mil increase, that will help our community in more than one way.
Thank you, Michelle. Let's go to Charles now. Charles McWhite. How would this 1 mil help your school?
Good evening. Well, good evening, everyone. First of all, I'd just like to say I want to agree with what Justin was around the vein where Justin was in. As a principal, I look at two different things with this referendum: quantity and quality. We all know, if you've been around any university or teacher development programs at universities, the numbers are not there. We do not have the number of people entering the teaching profession. And part of that is that we'll be able to sustain what we need in a few years. And part of that is because that we're not compensating teachers fairly. I look back at during the pandemic for the last couple of years, where teachers were seen as heroes and would be the ones who were standing on the front line. And I naively thought that as a society, we would begin to value teachers and their contributions more. Unfortunately, I don't believe that we have truly embraced what teachers do and their importance, so not just for today, but for our society as a whole. And so as we look at Jacksonville, if we want Duval County to be one of the best cities or counties in the state of Florida, we know we have to spend money for it. All the research says that when we spend more money towards education, results improve. We can look at the data. Dr. Greene said that we're 48th out of 50 in the state of Florida, is 48th out of 50 in teacher salaries. That should cause us concern right there. Secondly, out of the big seven, I know most of us in education know the larger school districts, big seven. If you saw that data that she put out, we're way behind. We are already behind where we need to be. So this referendum, particularly that, and I really loved her presentation, particularly that slide that shows the millage supplement that was there for those other districts that Duval County doesn't have. So that's a lot of it to say that this referendum would increase the quantity of teachers, but also the quality of the teachers that are entering the profession. If teachers were able to enter the profession, receive adequate compensation for what they're doing, I believe that we would be able to help solve some of the teacher shortage problems that we would have. And this referendum, I believe, is a step towards that.
Thank you. And last but not least, Marcus, why don't you share your perspective now from where you sit?
Yeah, just like Mr. McWhite was saying, like the quality of teachers is like just keeping the veteran teacher for new teachers to mentorship them. I think this will help my community by like having more resources. Like resources are like for me are like teachers. So you have teachers subbing every day covering classes. You don't have the certified teacher that the kids are not getting the proper lesson they need in class. So I think this will help going forward with teaching wise to help us to grow the profession and make it great again.
Thank you so much. All right, so Coretta, that is a really good roundup from people, as several said, who are on the front lines, who are frontline workers in a challenging time, teaching kids in these challenging circumstances.
I completely agree, Melissa. And I actually I would love to just ask a general question or two for anyone who'd like to answer. Dr. Greene mentioned in her presentation that many of our teachers are homeowners. I'm curious to know if any of our educators on the panel are homeowners, and just in terms of the reflection of this 1 mil, as it again will not only impact them as a homeowner, but also their schools as well. Would anyone like to respond to that or add any additional comment to that?
Ms. Hill, I would like to, as a homeowner in Duval County, in the district, honestly, when Dr. Greene was talking about 1 mil as a homeowner, I don't know what that means. You know, I can teach your child to read, but when it comes to those type of things, I really don't. And to be honest with you, I feel that $1 million to increase our community's ability to be successful and create these teacher jobs that can really help keep our veteran teachers. It's really not a lot. And I was very surprised. I feel like, you know, I live in a very nice home. And I feel that, you know, if we can see that, it's not like you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a person. It's to help our community and to keep our teachers where we don't feel exhausted. We don't have to work 2 jobs. We don't have to go home and just basically pass out every day. I think that the community will see that a difference in our teaching in our education system in Duval County.
Thank you. Anyone else have anything to add to that? Okay, if you don't, that's fine. That's perfect. Thank you for sharing, Michelle. And I was thinking too, Melissa, one of the conversations, and I'm sure you've heard this in your profession, are small business owners concerned about, you know, the $1 million increase as well, and others who may just be concerned about tax increases in general. We've
Right,
heard
this applies to commercial properties as well, correct?
it is a property tax overall,
Yeah.
so that is correct.
Yeah.
And I think that it will be great to hear from our educators in terms of, you know, as we know that there are, you know, alternative kind of opinions about the referendum, and for those who may be opposed or thinking about it and not quite sure, what would you say to anyone who just may be opposed to an increase in taxes overall? What would be your response as an educator who's impacted directly by all of this? Anyone?
Hey, I think it goes back to ultimately it's an investment in the community. We're investing in teachers who invest in each other, but more importantly, invest in the children. And those are kids that we are trying to prepare for college and career. And so, again, overall, that mill increase and being able to retain those veteran teachers and educators in general only helps to better the community overall. So again, I think when you look at it as an investment in your community and what it could really do for the future, and especially for our kids and preparing them for college and career, then hands down, that investment is probably the greatest one you can make.
And Coretta, again, I guess I found myself agreeing with Justin again, but I think going back to the investment piece, I would venture to say if there's someone who does not see themselves as part of a community and they're in a silo and they don't see where they fit in a community, it may be more difficult to convince them. But someone who sees themselves as a part of a bigger thing, a community, and that all parts come together to make everything work better for all of us, I think then we'll have a better chance of getting someone to see that it is an investment in the community, and not, while it may be a few extra dollars on this end, overall cumulative, we can have a huge impact for our community with all of us joining in together on this.
That's great. Thank you both. I guess you both have a very similar perspective, so it makes sense that you both agree with each other. And I guess I'll ask the question, what happens if this doesn't pass, Melissa? I mean, when you think, I mean, the voters have the ability to make a decision. And as I said, there's a lot on the ballot this August and November, but certainly August. So it's really important for us to remain informed and make those key decisions. But, what happens if this doesn't pass? Educators, what is your reaction to that?
I think as an educator, we're going to remain on the front lines and do whatever it is that we can to be able to still provide that high quality education to students and still make ends meet. I feel like we shouldn't have to is my perspective on that. But I feel like if that is what happens, and that if that's what it comes to, then as great educators, we're going to continue to do what we do. But is that also going to now take away some more positions that we're going to lose more teachers? Are we going to lose teachers? What is the negative effect of this not passing? What does that say? Is that a slap in the face to educators and school personnel? What does that tell us about what our community, how they feel about it? Do they believe in us and what we can do with this passing? So for me, it would be a question of, what does that say about the support that we have?
Yeah, and here's a comment from Joy. Aside from the issue with salaries, how satisfied are teachers with how they're being treated? Do they feel that they have the autonomy to teach as they choose? Do they feel respected, valued, and supported? As a community member, I plan to support this millage increase because I value you. So, I think that's also the subtext of this discussion. Beyond the dollars and cents, it's a question of the community voting to show that it values its educators. And it's a primary ballot, so the turnout won't be as high. It's not a presidential election year. So for people who care about this issue, they need to, there's certainly going to be an effort to get the word out, because a lot of people might not even know that something like this is on the ballot.
That's absolutely correct, Melissa. I think that is a great point, because what do we do for those who are advocating for this issue to ensure that more people are aware that it is, number one, on the ballot and the importance of it, but encouraging a higher, hopefully, a higher attendance or, more people at the polls. Any thoughts on that from our educators on what we can do as a community, or what you would encourage maybe those of us at JPEF and others who are advocating for this issue to do to make sure more people are aware of the issue?
I think it just comes down to continuing to educate as many people as possible. Certainly utilizing the Duval website, duvalschools.org/vote, looking at those FRQs, but just continuing to educate, because a lot of people don't understand kind of the ins and outs and how this will positively or they may feel negatively impact them. But being able to answer those questions with fact is really what it comes down to, and continuing to push that educational piece behind what this mill increase could do for our schools.
Great, thank you for that. And I know that Dr. Greene talked about things such as, percentage going to support things like band equipment, athletic equipment, probably maybe for our principals, or are there other, would you, how valuable would that be for your schools as well? Is that an opportunity where you, what I would imagine, see the need for more equipment and more supplies, especially in schools in particular that are serving, I would imagine, a high percentage of students who are from low-income families?
I got to brag. I've got the best band in the land.
I've heard you say that.
A lot of upkeep of the equipment, and financially that can be a pretty big bill. But along with that band and the phenomenal work and support we have from our band boosters and parents, we're trying to build up all of our programs at the school, including theater. We had superior ratings at the State Thespian Festival for our theater. But the issue is my stage lights aren't working. And so I want to be able to afford all of our kids the greatest opportunity to showcase their talents and better themselves. And that mill increase and the dollars that would go toward those performing fine arts programs and athletic programs would help us be able to rectify some of those issues on campus, just to give our kids the best experience possible.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is amazing to me when I think about what it was like when I was in school, and how different it is today. We had not only do we have a band and all of the sports teams and a robust theater program, we had an orchestra. And that was normal. Like all the schools had that, and I went to a basic public high school in Ohio, and all of those programs were just part of the package. My youngest daughter is finished. I was telling Coretta, finished a driver's ed class at Wolfson today. It was a 6-day class. We had to pay for that out of pocket. That's no longer part of the curriculum. When I was in high school, that was part of the curriculum.
Yes.
And, that, and it was funded, the cars, the instruction, everything. So, this erosion of funding schools properly with the full array of programs and initiatives and different things that contribute to the development of a well-educated young person is alarming, and districts like this one are having to navigate their way through that. And that's upsetting as a parent and as a citizen of this community, I have to say. So, that's just something that I was thinking about as I was listening to all of you talk about the various things at your schools, like, because there's been this erosion over the decades, and it's unfortunate, but I was encouraged to see how strongly the community supported the half-cent sales tax for school.
Yes.
So that said to me that the voters in this county do care very much about, they want the schools to have what they need, and I think that was pretty illuminating.
Absolutely. Completely agree. And I see a question here in the chat, Melissa, from Rhonda, asking if the 12.5% of the funds are going to charter schools have any oversight. We do have one of our charter schools here represented. I also, don't think it did with the half-cent sales tax that passed. I can, share that, the half-cent sales tax that passed, there is an oversight committee with a representation of citizens in our community. But I do believe that is where the oversight is taking place there. I don't know if anyone else, and Melissa, if anyone else on our call is able to answer that specific question about the oversight regarding the funds for, of course, the half meal. But as a charter representative, I would just, ask Charles if, you could share any insights to maybe someone who is either concerned or have questions about how charters may be utilizing the funding and, with that through that lens and how it impacts your school.
Yeah, thank you, Coretta. And I knew that would come up at some point, only because I think there's a lot of myths out there about charter schools, with the first being that charter schools are public schools, just like a traditional public school. As far as the oversight is concerned, I would venture to say that charter schools probably have more requirements of reporting finances to the district and to the state than traditional public schools do, with audits and monthly reporting and those type things. But with that, excuse me, I'm dealing with a cold, so that's why my voice is like this. But with that being said, the charter schools have many of the same issues as the traditional public schools when it comes to funding issues. So I welcome the same type of oversight for charter schools that are with any traditional public school, because this is not about trying to conceal anything. We're an open book. Our records are public and open, at least I can speak for Tiger Academy, and I would say all other charter schools are the same, but for the most part, but our budgets and everything are public record. This is nothing. And again, every charter school has a board of directors that oversees their funding and spending, and that board, the school is responsible to that board of directors.
And Tracy Pierce says in the chat, there's a new Citizens Audit Advisory Committee comprised of local CPAs and financial professionals. They will oversee this new proposed revenue, similar to the Citizen Oversight Committee for the half penny sales tax. So there you go.
Thank you. And thank you for that, Ms. McWhite. I thought who better to answer that question than one of our own charter friends. So thank you for sharing. And so I do, we'll probably have time for maybe one more question from maybe the chat, Melissa, or if you have anything else to add as we wrap up the discussion here. I think I see one more in the chat that we can field.
Here's one from Latrice. Ask every teacher, parent, community member to share information on their social media platforms. Principals, reach out to your PTAs. Ask that they send text blasts to members about the upcoming vote. The months leading up to the vote are during summer break, so we need to reach parents who have a vested interest in this issue, she says.
So that was a great way to get us out. Yes,
Yeah.
Great call to action. Thank you, Latrice. Of course, one of our parents who lead leaders and parent leaders in our community. So thank you for that, and a great charge to this group and for us as well. Any other final thoughts as we wrap up? Melissa, I don't know if you have any a question. I would just, like to have everyone on the panel just say what would they say as we wrap up to voters right now who are still undecided in helping them make a decision at the polls. And I guess we can start with Jamia.
There I am. I would just say to make sure that you are keeping in mind just all of the factors that we spoke about tonight. It's not just about financial, it's also about providing opportunities for experienced teachers to stay within the district and to also recruit quality teachers as well, and to be able to mentor them and guide them through becoming a fantastic educator so that we can provide the best high quality education for our students. This is about them. It is about investing the same way you would invest in yourself, your home, your life, your family. It is about investing in these students so that we can prepare them, not just for in the classroom, but within the community and for their future.
Awesome, thank you. Charles?
I would say, remind them what Dr. Greene said, Florida is 48th out of 50th when it comes to salaries. And Duval County is in the lower end of the Florida salaries. There's a teacher shortage and teachers are leaving the profession in droves. If we want to have a well-educated population that will impact our community, then we must do something to keep our teachers engaged and to attract quality teachers to the profession. And this referendum will go toward supporting that initiative.
Thank you. Mr. McKnight, not to be confused with Mr. McWhite.
I would say invest in your teachers. Invest in teachers.
Thank you. That's very strong, powerful, and great call to action, right to the point. Mr. Fluent, Justin?
Yeah, I would just remind everyone that the investment in the teachers and the extracurricular programs is ultimately an investment in the students. As Jamia said earlier, iron sharpens iron. You need those veteran teachers to be able to train our new teachers, our novice teachers. And let's not forget the many hats that educators wear. They're teachers, they're club sponsors, they're athletic coaches. They do so much for our kids and for our communities. So that investment right there is worth every dollar.
Thank you for that. So important. And last but not least, Ms. Michelle Mogger. Parting thoughts.
I really enjoyed and agree with everything that everybody has said. Teachers, I speak for veteran teachers as I see the younger teachers leave the classrooms because they cannot afford to live. And that's so sad to say, and I feel like teachers are an investment and we do work hard and we want to see value in our students as they come and as they leave our classrooms. And the value that we put in our students is what we, with our heart, are able to do without just being tired, working 2-3 jobs to make ends meet. People are like myself. I love education. I feel that education really shapes our society. And just invest in us. We work hard. We love our kids. We love our job. And our veteran teachers for sure don't want to leave. That's why we're veterans.
Good. And we definitely appreciate each of you for being here. I still believe that all of our educators are heroes. To your point earlier, Charles, I absolutely, we are here because of each of you to do this work every day. And so absolutely appreciate everything that you do, not only in the classroom, but also outside the classroom, at home at night and on weekends, and all of the above, because we know that it is definitely a labor of love. And all of you are there for that love for your students, and we appreciate you. I will just say that this has been an incredible, very informative discussion and conversation, Melissa. I really appreciate you being here with us. As always, you have such thought-provoking questions as well that helps us get to the root and the meat of the conversation.
The same to you. And I'm honored and excited to be with all of you. And I want to thank you for having me and getting some information out to people paying attention. Let's also reiterate that website is, I think it's duvalschools.org/vote. Is that right? Am I getting that right? The website with more information about the vote?
Yes, I believe so. Mr. Tracy Pierce put it in the chat, but if you can put it in there again, it's up above quite a few comments, but it is duvalschools.org/vote.
Vote. There you go. And JPEF has another forum coming up soon, I believe, as well.
That's right. The time, quickly passed, but we will have another conversation again on July 21st for another discussion on this referendum specifically. Of course, then our CEO, Rachel, and President Rachel Tutwiler Fortune will be back from maternity leave, as she is, of course, spending and bonding with her, with beautiful baby Riley. But stay tuned to information as we begin to promote the next forum for the referendum, and obviously on social media and our advocacy center. But I also will share, Melissa, for the other really important conversation and topic this summer for us as well are school board candidates. So, related and related or a little indirectly to this conversation, we are hosting school board candidate forums as well, and featuring District 2 coming up first on June 30th. So mark your calendars, and also District 6 on July 12th. So both of those candidate forums will be in the middle, and these referendum forums are bookending those school board candidate forums. So lots of things happening on the advocacy side of the house as well. So thank you again for being here. Great questions tonight. I would love to thank all of our panel of educators and give you a quick wave and a virtual, let's all kind of give them a virtual applause along with Dr. Greene, who joined us earlier. And again, not to forget the next referendum forum on the 21st, in addition to the school board candidate forums coming up in between that. I'll just end by saying, we at JPEF believe that the best voters are the most informed voters. And so please, please, please spread the information, spread and share this. This will be on our website to share, to get hopefully a lot more views, in addition to the wonderful audience we had tonight. And we'll be sending out registration links for those events here coming shortly. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Good night.
Good night.